Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats, folks, for your daily live updates. Get the most out of today's episode by participating in the chat. Make sure you ask some questions, be part of the conversation, have a bit of fun, grab a coffee or a tea, take some notes, and get ready to start your day, folks. Quick few housekeeping rules, though. No spamming, no advertising or self-promotion in the chat. That's not on. Be kind and respectful to everyone when participating. And most of all, have a good time. Real estate investing can be your biggest asset. It also can be your most expensive asset when it comes to getting it right or getting it wrong, folks. It can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Hey, good morning, folks.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat.
Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are.
There it is, team. Morning. Morning, wherever you're tuning in from today.
Early bird gets the worm, they say. Here at Positive, we offer a 6-star team. It's a team that help you at every stage of your wealth creation journey.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chat, the Finance Friday edition. So how does a mortgage broker flirt? Want to lock in something long-term? Tragedy this week. The anticipated rate drop for July did not actually come true. And a lot of economists were very surprised about it. With inflation on the lower end, the RBA was saying that they wanted to be more cautious around how quickly they were going to drop interest rates. So now all indication is that the next rate drop will actually come in August. Fingers crossed the RBA don't hold the same position that they did in July. But everybody's saying that since it has been on hold in July, that the rate drop will come in August. So looking forward to some good news as winter continues. Today, I actually want to have a conversation about rent vesting. You may ask what rent vesting actually is. Rent vesting is where you actually rent where you live and you start investing in your property portfolio. Why would you do that? Now, I've spoken previously in regards to the debt on your home, and that is classified as non-deductible debt. We call it bad debt because there is no tax benefits around it. And often what happens is when you have a home loan and you keep upgrading your home loan actually gets bigger and it actually locks you out of the property market from the investment perspective. You can imagine, I live in Sydney and I'm currently rent vesting at the moment. Now, the reason why I realized that we had to go down the rent vesting path because that was the only way we could get into the property market. We upgraded a few homes. Homes in Sydney are a little bit on the expensive side. Even when you put in the strategies to pay off your home quickly, it does not come fast enough, as well as when you've got $1 million home loan, your borrowing capacity reduces greatly, and your income would need to be considerably higher to be able to get the banks to lend you money. So we looked into renting a property, so that the kids could be in a good area to go to school, and we rented out our home. Now, often, especially with a lot of families that I know, especially in Sydney, the areas that have really good schools, like we tend to move a few times. You get married, you move into your first home together, then you have a kid and realize we need a place where there's a good childcare, where there's good primary schools, then good high schools, then near public transport so your kids can go to university. And you can quickly get to, especially around Sydney, the costs for homes that are in good school areas, school catchments, around $3 or $4 million. I've actually had clients who purchased a $2.5 million property, then purchased a $4 million property because they wanted to be closer to their kids' high school. And then the home loans on that, start at $1 million, then become $2 million. How do you invest when you kind of have those type of loans? Now, we obviously talk about the PPR upgrade, which is great, but having home loan debt really locks your ability to borrow. So we then look at rentvesting, right? So rentvesting is basically you rent where you want to live, and you build a property portfolio so you can the rental income actually pays for your rent, which means you do want to look at certain type of properties like cash flow positive properties that will give money into your pocket. Morning, Jeff. Now, Grant Cardone, he lives in the US, and he talks about rentvesting. Basically, you rent where you want to live, and you look at cash flow positive properties. Like, that's his goal. Now, obviously, the rules in America are slightly different to Australia, but the concept is quite the same. If you can build up a portfolio that gives you, an extra $1,000, $2,000 a week, you can take that money and rent most places in Sydney, or most places where you want to actually live. Now, the downside of rentvesting is you're living in somebody else's property, and if they choose to take their property back, nothing you can do. If they want you to move out, there's not a lot you can do. I guess in Australia, we're quite lucky that, there are some rules around. You can't literally kick somebody out, but you can give them, up to a couple of months to organize themselves to find a new property. So you can either sell your property or take your property back. So in terms of rentvesting, where do people start? Now, if you don't own a property, then you can look at getting into the property market when you're either living in a home with your parents and paying board, or you're renting a property and sharing it with your friends or a roommate. So you're greatly reducing the rent that you're actually paying, and you can start saving or using government grants to get into the property market. Now, if you do have your own home already, then like myself, you can choose to rent out your home and find a place to rent, and then start building your property portfolio. Now, a couple of years down the track, you can potentially move back into your rental property, or else, if we choose to move closer to where our kids are going to go to high school, then we may choose another place to rent. I've actually got a really interesting scenario. I actually had a client who, they were brothers. And when I was doing their loans, I found out that they actually purchased each other's property. So what actually happens is the eldest brother purchased the property for his younger brother's family, and they live in that property. And the younger brother did the same thing for the older brother. So they both don't have home loans, but they own their own home. Now, there's, I guess, a lot of trust in regards to if things get bad. The assumption is you're not going to kick out your family, but potentially you could. But that's another interesting way as well. We've got other clients who parents have multiple investment properties and they rent out one of the investment properties to the kids. And the kids' families live in there, but the kids' family, goes and then builds out their property portfolio. So there are ways, I guess, to work with family members in a way where you can use rentvesting, but not have the downside of feeling like you're living in somebody else's property and there's a potential to be kicked out or they're asking you to move out. So those are a couple of the ways which you can look at in terms of rentvesting, why we would look at rentvesting, and how that will help you start your property investment journey. In Sydney, when you have a huge home loan, or any of the suburbs where house properties are really expensive, if you've got a huge home loan, you could potentially be locked out of the property investment market for decades. So if anybody has any questions in regards to potentially look at rentvesting, happy to have a chat, or reach out to your broker and run some numbers and see if you change your home loan into an investment loan and you paid a little bit more and you started paying rent, how much servicing can you actually unlock? How much of the borrowing power can you actually unlock? Just run the numbers. Again, it is often something where we as Australians have the dream of owning our own home, and this goes almost against that. But what I would say to you is ask the question, how can I get into the property market, and then how do I still purchase a home for me to live in? Whether it's looking at your property investment portfolio strategy and looking at your forever home and maybe slotting that into the mix so that you know that later on when you're ready to retire, you've already purchased your forever home and you would have purchased it at a price 15 years before you're ready to retire. So that's just something to have a think about. Hope you enjoyed today's chat. Have a wonderful Friday, and I look forward to catching up with you all next week. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thanks for watching another episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our other podcasts from the 6-Star team here at positivementor.com.au.